picks of the week. Wall's out here to make you some money. Are you ready to make some money?
All right, welcome back this week to another edition of Big Wall's Big Picks of the Week. We've got Nate Wahl with us, joining us as he does every week to give us his Big Six in college football. Nate, what's going on, brother?
Not much, had a kind of a lousy week last week, but looking to go 6-0 this week. That's always the motto, right?
That's the dream. That is the dream. Yeah, we've got, things happen week to week. Everything goes, not as planned. You can always put yourself in the best position. 2 weeks ago in the NFL, I didn't lose a game. This week, I went 5-8. So, yeah, things can definitely turn in a heartbeat. I can agree with that.
Sure can.
Yeah, so how you feeling this week? I know we've got a big slate of matchups, great matchups in college football this week. You're going to start with a Thursday night game. How are you feeling about this slate you got so far?
I think I got a better slate of, I think teams I know a lot better. I know knowledge, isn't always going to win you every game, but I think, when I always kind of usually pick the teams that are kind of like sometimes they're on TV, sometimes they're not. Whereas this week I kind of went with more, teams I watch on a more regular basis. So kind of gives me more, I guess, knowledge of the actual teams in general versus not having the knowledge when I'm picking like South Alabama or something like that.
Right on. Yeah, let's dive in. Let's start with Big Wall's Big Six of the week. We're going to start with a Thursday night game. If you're listening to this on 12-ounce sport, on the website, you're going to want to get this in soon because this game actually, this Big Walls episode will be posted on Thursday. This matchup starts today, and you don't want to miss out on the first pick. First off, we've got Texas Tech heading down to Fort Worth to take on TCU. A matchup of two teams who are 1-1 in the Big 12, both 3-2 overall. The question mark, obviously, is will Alan Bowman play the Texas Tech's nice freshman who's doing pretty well, 605 and 5 touchdowns just against Houston to open up. I mean, that's not a bad day for a freshman. He's looked really good so far, but if he can't go, it's going to be interesting. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, that's kind of the big kicker with this game. I mean, this game's at 61 for I took the total this week. I took the over, but the big question is if Bowman's going to play. If Bowman does play, I think the 61 will definitely be, definitely within reason, being the kind of status of points in the Big 12, or as I like to call it, the Big Points Conference.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, Texas Tech has got one of the, I think, top 10 passing offenses in the country. So, TCU's kind of always been known for their defense. But I think, they both, it's Big 12. Big 12 always, it's very stacked in the points department. So, Texas Tech, from like a number standpoint, as far as points, they're actually 8th in the country in points. And TCU is kind of, they're in the top 60. So, when you kind of put them together, you should get your total of 61 on tomorrow night on ESPN. So, hoping for the totals this week.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, both teams, like you said, Texas Tech pretty close to tops in the nation, 48.4 points per game. Texas Christian, TCU, no slouch though. 31.6 points per game, so you are right. It's definitely going to be a shootout. Both teams, defensive-wise, like you said, TCU is known for their defense. This year they've struggled a little bit defensively, giving up points. Maybe some of that's from the Ohio State game where they gave up 42. But TCU is looking to win their 9th straight home game, and of the last 4 meetings, TCU has won. But being on the total, it doesn't matter who wins. It matters who scores the most, who scores all the points for you, right?
Right, exactly. It's all about the shootout.
All about the shootout. You got another shootout on your hands here for your second game here. Duke versus Georgia Tech traveling into Atlanta. Dukies and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Both teams have the ability to put up serious point totals. You like the over?
Yeah, if you look at the last 2 weeks with Georgia Tech, Louisville's having a down year, but I feel like Duke has been peaked in the top 25 very briefly, this year, but I mean, Georgia Tech in the last two games has put up 64 points alone, which is basically a basketball score. And it's just really hard for me to see. I mean, Duke, when they've struggled against like teams like Virginia Tech, I mean, they haven't put up a lot of points, but I mean, I feel like 53.5 is, anytime you can get that number under 55, it's really tough not to take, based on kind of the state of offenses in the country. And I guess about this year specifically, it's been kind of a weird year. The over's been going in college football at about 55% of the time. So, I mean, you can really flip a coin plus 5%, and you definitely may get the over. But I think the Dukies, as well as the Yellow Jackets, I mean, they're kind of that part of the ACC that's trying to turn a new beast as far as scoring. ACC to me has always kind of been a defensive conference, and then you get the Lamar Jacksons of the world, and it kind of becomes a more passing, scoring conference where these two teams kind of focus on the with Georgia Tech's very interesting option offense that rarely gets ran in college football nowadays. I think it'll run up a pretty high score, so I was very comfortable with that 53.5.
So you think Georgia Tech's going to be able to run this triple option against a defense that's top 30 in the nation?
I think it's possible. I mean, I think it's definitely one of those things that with Duke, it's different, and I think obviously they've seen it, being an ACC rival, but I think at the same time, they have counters they can run that are kind of, out of like just unorthodox that they're gonna probably be surprised by. So I mean, I think we'll get as long as both teams score, at least four touchdowns, three and a half touchdowns. I think we should feel pretty confident with the 53.5.
Yeah, most definitely. Duke 4-1 overall, 0-1 in the ACC after that loss to Virginia Tech. Definitely looking forward to getting back on the field after that bye week. And Georgia Tech, like you said, they've scored 60-plus back-to-back games. Only the fourth time an ACC team has done that. First time since 15, which was also the Yellow Jackets. So this team has the ability to put up points in droves. You are absolutely correct. And hopefully Duke can oblige, and we hang on for the ride at that point. You should never really quite know in games like this. 53.5 points does seem like a low total. These two teams could put up 100. You're absolutely right. So it'd be fun to watch. You're over happy. First couple picks here, I noticed. You got Washington and Oregon, a late game on Saturday. You got the over 57.5 in Outson Stadium. What about that one?
Yeah, I mean that's another one. I mean, the Pac-12. It's kind of be with these two quarterbacks with Justin Hebert as well as Jake Browning. They're both quarterbacks that know how to, pass the yard. Especially Browning, he's averaging around 9.1, almost a first down every time he throws the ball or completes a pass. So that's a pretty outstanding number, and that can add up to get you points quick. But Justin Herbert's no slouch as well. I mean, he's had an outstanding year, and I feel NFL scouts are definitely paying attention to him, and potentially next year's draft. But I mean, I think anytime you can get under 60 or 65 in the Pac-12, especially with Oregon, I feel like Oregon's always, in the 40s or 50s as far as, their point total. So you get this number to 57.5. I call it a blessing in my article today on 12 Ounce Sports, just because the last couple times I've taken the Ducks on the total, just specifically because, Oregon's always been a let's go kind of up-tempo offense. So I like the total in this one, even though Washington plays a little bit more conservative. I think 57.5 will hold.
Yeah, most definitely. Like Washington is no slouch with weapons as well. They got Jake Browning, who's played pretty damn well, especially against Oregon in his career. You got number 7 versus number 17, so you got a big matchup. It's going to be on TV. Last time we saw these two teams in 2016, it was 70-21 Huskies. So if that holds serve, I think you're over 57.5, maybe good by the first half at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was pretty surprised the last time I had Oregon on the number. I think it was against Cal earlier this year, and I think I got it in like the early part of the third quarter, the over. So, I mean, it definitely could be a similar game with this one as well. So it'll just have to depend on how much high flying those offenses do.
Yeah, most definitely. Oregon, especially, getting out early, they've outscored their opponents 145-46 in the first half. So, especially if a team like Washington goes down early, they have the firepower and the capability to get themselves back in this game, which would essentially be good for that total that you have over 57.5. Let's move down to the Bayou. We got Nate Wahl here, lead college football writer for 12 Ounce Sports Radio, giving us his big Walls, big six picks of the week. And we're heading down to a country or part of the country that may be a little wet this weekend, given the fact that there's a hurricane pummeling through there right now. LSU is hosting Georgia in a battle of top teams. LSU did go down last week. They are currently 5-1, 2-1 in the SEC. Georgia, we all know, 6-0, 4-0 in the SEC. Kind of really fired on all cylinders right now. Nothing really going too wrong down in Athens. But, man, I will tell you what, it is tough to play down in Baton Rouge. Georgia's given 7.5 right now. And your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the 7.5, I thought, this is Georgia's best competition they're going to play. All year besides, when they play Alabama. LSU is not a slouch. You could say that, even though Burrow threw those two very important interceptions last week against Florida, LSU is in that game the whole time. And I think with Georgia, when I've watched with Jake Fromm this year, he's always been a quarterback that usually never gets fazed by pressure when I watched him last year, but he had a few times this year that, he gets under pressure and he makes that throw where you're like, what are you doing? I think something key in this game is that LSU is going to really need to bring pressure on Fromm. If they can get some turnovers, some fumbles, some interceptions, I think it'll be pretty crucial in this game. And I do think this will be kind of a defensive game. I just think, you have two quarterbacks that, obviously are, Burrow's still trying to prove himself at LSU, and then you have Fromm, who, playing a national championship. But however, I feel like it's going to be a defensive battle. I don't see any reason why this game couldn't be decided by 3 to 6 points. It would be kind of surprising, for Georgia to just go to LSU and just, blast them in Death Valley. I don't think Coach O would approve of that too much. So I like LSU on the 7.5 spread on this game.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see two teams like this. You have Georgia, you have LSU. They haven't played each other in 5 years. Last time they played each other was in 2013. Georgia winning that game 44-41 at home. You got basically a whole new regime for both parties. Rick's gone, Rick's gone, Les Miles gone. Bring in Kirby Smart, Ed Orgeron. It's to take the trends in this game. You'd almost seem to have to throw those out the window because, for as good as Georgia's been on offense, they're only giving up 13 points a game on defense, the second in the country. So you're right. LSU only giving up 17 points a game on defense. So this game, right, I believe in the swamp, well, not the Gator Swamp, but the Bayou Swamp, is going to stay pretty close. I'd be shocked if there was a runaway either way in this spot. So I would probably agree with you on that side as well. All right, we'll stay in the SEC. We've got Mississippi. We've got Arkansas. I tell you what, this is a game that you may have to either pay me or put a gun to my head to watch this game. But I know you boys in the East like the SEC football.
Yeah, and especially, not trying to diss my other guys on 12 ounce, but with Arkansas, they're turning the armpit of the SEC. I know Chad Smith's going through a lot over there with basically picking up the trash from Brett Bielema and the way he left that program, but it's tough for Arkansas. And I don't think they stand a chance in this game. They've played a lot of teams. Even games that I picked North Texas to beat Arkansas earlier this year, and they just kicked the crap out of them. Alabama kicked the crap out of them. A lot of teams have been kicking the crap out of them. So when I saw that, even though it's at Arkansas in Fayetteville, I still thought it was kind of a surprise to see Ole Miss only at minus 6.5, because I did think that Ole Miss will definitely, win by at least two touchdowns or two touchdowns and a field goal. I just think as far as, with the amount of points that Ole Miss puts up, I mean, they are averaging, right around 36 or 37 points a game. And Arkansas at home is averaging 38 points a game, which, I'm a firm believer in home field advantage. And, if you're allowing almost 40 points, almost, 6 touchdowns at home, I just feel like you give yourself a really tough chance to win anything. I'd be surprised if they, I would think they'd beat Vanderbilt. I would think they would probably beat Tulsa, but I mean, it's just an unknown year for Arkansas. So I really like the Rebels in this game by the 6.5.
Yeah, most definitely. I think there may be a little bit of a revenge factor for Ole Miss as well. I mean, Arkansas last year was able to beat Ole Miss at home last year around this time. Like you said, not a lot going right in the Brett Bielema era, but they did beat Ole Miss, the Running Rebels, last year. And I'm sure Tamu, or however you say that guy's name, and the rest of the Rebel program's probably looking for a little bit of revenge here, even if it is a downtrodden Arkansas team like you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think this game, I mean, on paper, when you look at it, when I was kind of looking at it, I'm like, on paper, it doesn't really look great in past years for Ole Miss against Arkansas. But, I think, when Arkansas is starting off their year 1-5, year 4-2, you're playing relatively good football besides the Alabama game. It's just really hard to see a scenario where, Ole Miss gets their keister kicked in and, loses this game and, and loses by the point total. So I think the Rebels will prevail pretty well in Fayetteville. So.
Yeah, they definitely know how to score fast. I'll tell you what, they are tied for 4th nationally with 10 scoring drives of a minute or less, with 7 of those coming in 2 or fewer plays. So they definitely have no problem getting on the board quickly, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, they have one game this year. They almost put up 80 points. I mean, I know it was D1AA, but it was a pretty good D1AA program. So I mean, it's tough to see a scenario where they're not a high flying offense. I don't think Arkansas has the defense. The only game I've seen Arkansas do well in this year, and they still lost, was that one in Dallas against A&M a couple weeks back. But other than that, I haven't seen much promise from the Hogs at all.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk to me about this before we dissect the game. I feel like every week, Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors, are on this pick 6. You got a love affair for them, eh?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they're a team that I can't hardly watch, or I got to stay up till 3 in the morning. But I mean, hey, they're having an outstanding year. They're 6-1 to start. They have a quarterback who I had them last week with Cole McDonald not starting. He was out. But this week he's back. He's having an outstanding year. He's got 2,400 yards passing already, 24 touchdowns, and two interceptions to his name. So, I mean, BYU, to see this game at 11.5, I know it's at BYU, but BYU, you see them up. They beat Wisconsin. You see them down. They lose, get killed by Washington, and you see them down again by where they lose to Utah State, who I picked BYU in that on my picks a couple weeks ago with that game. So kind of a revenge pick. I think 11.5 in Provo. I think just having Cole McDonald back will be a huge win for Hawaii. And 11.5 I feel is a very this game. I think Hawaii's got a chance to win. I mean, Hawaii is kind of playing like how they were back kind of when they had like Colt Brennan, when they were a top 25 team. So I think Hawaii even has an opportunity to win this game. I'll go off and say it, but yeah, I got to thank the Rainbow Warriors this year. What can I say?
Yeah, most definitely. Talk about BYU. 1-2 at home, 1-2 against the spread. They are giving up 23 points a game and only scoring 22. That's not good for the Cougars. Last time BYU traveled to Hawaii, beat them 30-20 last year. So there could be a little bit of a revenge factor in that spot as well, especially since Hawaii didn't put up the kind of yards that they did normally. They only put up 286 total yards last year in Hawaii. There could be a little bit of a revenge factor as far as, like you said, McDonald looking to come back, beat BYU, a team that's ranked 32nd in offense nationally, averaging 469 yards a game, is the Rainbow Warriors, to a team that is ranked 125th out of 130 on offense. That's the BYU Cougars.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I know Hawaii's not a big defensive stand, program, but I mean, I still do feel that, they'll at least keep it within 7, if not, potentially win the game. So I like the Rainbow Warriors in this one. This one I'll actually be able to watch because it starts at, I think, 10 o'clock Eastern, so I should be able to get through the whole game, which will be a nice surprise.
Yeah, most definitely. So, all right, let's recap. We got Big Wall's Big Six of the week. You've got Texas Tech and TCU on Thursday. He's taking the over 61 points in that one. All right, going into Saturday, he's got Duke and Georgia Tech, 53.5 points. He's taking the over on that total as well. Washington at Oregon, one of the afternoon games. He does have 57.5. He's taking the over on that one as well, 3 straight overs. Moving into the later games, UGA at LSU. He's taking the Bayou Bengals with the 7.5 points. Mississippi at Arkansas. He's laying the favorite, the Ole Miss Running Rebels, with 6.5 points. And Hawaii at BYU. He's taking his darlings, the Rainbow Warriors, plus 11.5 points in that spot. Big Wall's Big 6 points of the week. Anything else jump out at you that maybe you don't have a play on, but you're definitely interested in keeping an eye on this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, one big game is, the college game day game, Wisconsin and Michigan at the Big House. A little scared for my Badgers. I think that the game could get out of hand a little bit. I just, our quarterback play has always been kind of, all right, which quarterback's going to show up today? Is he going to throw for 200 yards or is he going to throw 4 interceptions? It just kind of depends which one shows up. And I mean, I think this is also a big game on Jim Harbaugh's plate. I think if he can't pull this one out, I think I'm not saying anyone's going to call for his head or want him fired or anything, but he hasn't really won since he's been at Michigan in what I call big time games. He struggles against Wisconsin, he struggles against Ohio State, struggles against Penn State. I mean, he hasn't won a lot of games where that's what they pay. How they want you to win.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's it'll be a deciding factor. I mean, I think if Michigan can pull it out, maybe the doubters of Harbaugh will kind of go away. But I mean, if Wisconsin beats them pretty handily, and I don't want to say he's on the chopping block, but I mean, I think people start raising their eyebrows quite a bit more. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, most definitely, especially since both teams, both Wisconsin and Michigan, still have Big Ten aspirations. Michigan obviously has to go through Ohio State, and that's going to be another good game at the end of the year. But after Michigan, Wisconsin doesn't have really too much going in the department of tough games. So, I mean, this is a Wisconsin team that, doesn't particularly want to fall back, one game in the conference, even though it may not hurt them as much as this game may hurt Michigan.
Right, and I think, we do have another game against Penn State later this year, so that'll be also another, I feel like, deal-breaker game. So, I mean, it'll just really depend. I think, we have a good chance to, win the game. It just depends which Badger team's going to show up. Are we going to have our defense, do completely, just be as good as, advertised, or are they just going to kind of get blown by the wayside? It'll just depend on, which team shows up.
Right, no doubt. All right, well, that has been Big Wall's Big Picks of the week. He gave you a 6-pack. We're going to recap them here just one more time here before we sign off. Texas Tech, TCU, he likes the over 61. Duke, Georgia Tech, over 53.5. Washington, Oregon, he likes the over 57.5. UGA at LSU, he's taking the Tigers with the points. Mississippi at Arkansas, taking the Rebels, minus 6.5. And Hawaii at BYU, he's taking Hawaii with the 11.5 points as well. Nate, as always, we appreciate you coming on, giving us your insight, hopefully making us a little bit of money this weekend.
Yeah, that's the goal. My goal is 6-0 this week, as is every week. So hope I can make everyone some money and, take, like I say every week, take some girls out on dates, right?
There we go. That's the dream, right? Make enough money to cover a nice steak dinner.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we appreciate you listening. This has been another edition of Big Wall's Big Picks of the Week. Look for us on the Vegas Squares website, vegassquares.com. Get your picks. Nate, where can we find you on social media before we lock up here?
Yep. Brickwall87 on Twitter. DTP Process #1 on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com, NWall23. You can also find me on Instagram, which is NWall23. So feel free to follow me wherever, and hopefully, like I said, make America some money again, right?
Right on. We want to thank our sponsor, 12-Ounce Sports, for putting us together. If you'd like to sponsor Big Wall's Big Picks of the Week, also get at us. Get at Nate on Twitter at thebrickwall87, or let us know at Vegas Squares. That's our handle on Twitter as well. All right, for Nate, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. We'll catch you next week.